John Fenton has been called the Billy Graham of salesmanship.
Well done. Aren't they lovely? Ooh. I'm going to actually get those for a front doorbell.
For 5 hours or more at a stretch, he'll be listened to by people who believe he can make them more successful.
A question I call the most powerful question in selling. The question that goes, what do I need to do to get you to buy some of your widgets from us?
So many people have paid to hear this sales guru, it's made him a millionaire.
Absolutely, what? Don't anybody believe it's orange?
John Fenton now lives at Kissing Tree House, Stratford-on-Avon. It was once the home of J.B. Priestley, the author and playwright. Today it's worth about £2 million. Quite a change from Ryland Street, Stratford.
Wow, this brings back memories. Hasn't changed a bit. I see the scars. And the good old outside loo.
This is where John was born and brought up. By chance, the house is up for sale.
Wow, this is unbelievable. It hasn't changed a bit. Used to be a black grate there, a stone copper there, and I think the cooker was there. But the rest of it, this is unbelievable. Oh dear. Why hasn't anybody done anything with this for how many years? Oh dear.
Through here, what was it?
A sort of dining room? God.
And how many of you lived here?
Just Mum, Dad and me. I was lonely. Can't you tell? I think this was the dining room, but I mean, oof.
So it would be the parlour through here.
And the cellar. Oh, the parlour was through there, yeah. I mean, ordinary coal fire. Tin bath every Friday. I was third with the bath water, which was done in the copper. Well, they've modernised a bit. I can remember when I was a kid, there was gas mantles, no electricity. The electricity went in when I was about 10, I think. But I mean, apart from that, it hasn't changed.
And some of the neighbours are the same as when you were alive?
Yeah, Mrs. Sweet next door. She was there when we were. She's still alive and next door. Charlie Taylor down the road, you know. There's about half a dozen of them still here. Haven't changed in 50 years.
What do you think they make of you turning up in a Rolls?
I don't know. I mean, ask them.
He was a cheeky little bugger.
Don't swear.
Well,
True, Charlie. Got to be true.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
My God, I got away with
He was
murder.
all right though. You could get on. His type of chap you could get on with, you know.
And he always told his mum he'd be a millionaire or a tramp, didn't you?
Yeah.
I think so. Yes.
You did,
Yes,
yes.
he did.
Oh well, I made one of them.
Yeah, well, good. I'm pleased for your sake, anyway.
I can't remember how early Mum went out to work, but she'd been in service all her life, so she was used to that. But when I was pretty young, she used to be the daily for Mrs. Benson round the corner. I don't know what Mrs. Benson used to do, but she was, in those kind of terms, she was a bit posher than us poor people down the terraced end of the old town kind of thing.
Poor or not, John managed to get into King Edward's Grammar School, where William Shakespeare was reputedly a pupil.
What do you remember about the place yourself?
I remember carving my initials on one of these desks and getting 6 of the best for doing it. I look back now saying, I'm glad I went to that school. But at the time, no, I suppose I hated it in parts. mainly because we worked on Saturday morning. And I held the school caning record, mainly because I didn't want to spend Saturday afternoon also in detention. And the only way you got out of detention was to get 4 detentions in a week, in which case they swapped you for the best on the cane. So I got so sort of... there's a technique for actually padding oneself with a couple of handkerchiefs so that the headmaster can't actually feel like you can feel a textbook, you see. So I got quite expert at that. And I used to swap 4 detentions for the cane so as not to have detention on the Saturday afternoon, which is why I hold the caning record, I suppose. My first taste of show business, one could say. I built a puppet show, a Punch and Judy show, and I used to play that to the rest of the kids in the street. So I had a bit of flair, if you like, which didn't seem to be common with all the other kids at that time. Whether that's anything to do with it, in terms of my success, I don't know.
Today, John Fenton has it all: the roles, the mansion,
I've got a feeling I'm going to want to run on this one.
and a pretty new wife. His money came initially from convincing salesmen that he could increase their success by lecturing them in mass audiences.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host and show leader, John Fenton.
Now, you didn't think I'd leave him behind, did you? Alas, poor Yoick. He used to be a great salesman. The recession finally got him. I teach salespeople and managers of businesses how to sell more profitably, and how to manage the business better and more profitably.
But is it really possible to teach people to be good salesmen?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, if you don't teach people to be good salesmen, very, very few of them will ever be good salespeople. I'm a living example of that. I started work in '54 at £1.13 4 a week. And I can remember, if I switched straight to the 60s, I joined a company which was my first taste of success in selling as well as the technical thing. And I put sales up of extrusions, plastic extrusions, in 1 year in a certain industry from 30,000 feet to 12 million feet of extrusion a year. And they gave me 5 rises that year. And I went from £14 a week to £19 a week.
John's fortune came years later. He formed an Institute of Salesmanship and Management, which acquired valuable property in the Midlands.
Well, this is Longbridge Manor. It's a Queen Anne Manor house in 8 acres. It's 3 acres now. I bought it in '85 for 330,000, and by '89, with a bit of planning permissions, it was valued at just over 5 million. So when we sold out in '89, we made a modest profit on the place.
And with the sale of other property, the profit was rather more than modest.
We had all that property, we had 2 thriving businesses, we were going up with the boom, and at the beginning of '89, 2 guys sort of knocked on my door through a broker and said, do you want to sell it? I gave them a shopping list. It was other people's money, it was fully underwritten. They were trying to build a group through acquisition. It took them an hour to go to their stockbrokers and come back and say yes. So I sort of said, curses, I've undersold it. Because I accepted the first shopping list. And 4.5 months later, I walked away with 9.3 million quid. It left me with more than enough to be exceedingly comfortable. And if you compare it with where we started in 14 Violent Street, you know, it's a different world, a different planet.
Living not far away was down-to-earth Julie Busby, over 20 years his junior. All he knew about Julie was that she'd once painted the outside of one of his properties, and that she was the daughter of the local doctor who'd been treating him for depression.
Out of the blue, and I cannot explain it, I just don't know why I said it, because I hadn't even remotely thought about Julie, you know, as a partner. I was just about to leave the doctor's surgery, and I turned around and I said, quite seriously, how would you see me as a son-in-law? And he paused and frowned for about 4 seconds, and he said, I wouldn't have any problem with that. And I said, quite flippantly, laughing, because I just couldn't explain why I'd done that. And I said, well, in that case, would you give Julie my phone number and ask her to ring me? And 2 weeks later, because I was unlisted, so I'm writing on a piece of paper, 2 weeks later, he did, but he didn't tell Julie what I'd said. He said, John Fenton wants you to ring him, he might have a job for you. And she rang me one Wednesday evening, and I was entertaining another lady at home in the middle of dinner, and that call came through, and I couldn't talk, so we arranged I would ring her back the next day. And I took her for lunch, just across the way at the restaurant on the corner. And on the way to lunch, I said, what's your favourite car? And she said, well, it's got to have an open top and a big stereo. And I said, what colour?
I said, navy blue. And he went, oh, I'm having delivery this afternoon of a dark blue Mercedes sports car, was it 420 SL, which has just gone back to have its loud stereo fitted. I went, let me.
No, I mean, how do you explain that? You give up.
Things that don't happen in real life, do they?
We went into lunch. We talked about her job, so I said, come and work for me. So she said, how much? So I said, I'll double your salary and the car. And she said, you're on.
So I said, right, put it in writing. I want it in writing. So he wrote out the job description of what I'd get, the salary, the car, etc. Signed it, and then put at the end, P.S., will you marry me?
And she took it, went to the loo, came back, and I said, I want to reply to that. So she wrote me out a reply.
Yes. Yes, I will.
So we got engaged in half an hour, I suppose.
There were some times in your life when you make decisions by the seat of your pants, and if you think about things for too long, I think you worry about it. And at that time, at that place, with that person, it just seemed like the only answer to give. It just seemed that was it.
I've always been a generous guy. I mean, gifts are easy when you've got money, probably over-generous from that point of view. We went out to buy a ring, and there was only one that was any good. So that was the ring.
This lummy thing here. We got engaged on the Friday, and then we'd arranged to go and see friends on the Saturday. But I said, I want a ring before we go. I want to prove to them this is the real thing. They'll never believe it otherwise. So we went into the jewellery quarter in Birmingham, and we looked through the trays of the fancy ones. I said, you know, they're all a bit pretty, it's not quite me. And out of the safe in this little plastic bag came this monster.
Its retail value at that time was about 50 grand.
And it was a man's ring, it was much bigger. So whilst I was waiting to have it cut down to size, we went shopping over the road and bought a few clothes to fill the boot of the new car with.
Julie is an incredibly practical girl. I mean, compared with my ex-wife, she is frugal in her ability to spend money, if you like, mine or anybody else's.
And how much did you spend on clothes that afternoon?
That afternoon, just over £10,000. Yes, we had the boot full.
My philosophy of life in terms of money is, you know, if you just hoard it and count it, you want your bumps read. Life's very short. This isn't a rehearsal, you know. So long as I have the ability to make more money, I'd rather spend it and enjoy it, and that's what money's for.
John Fenton splashed out even more on the honeymoon, a 3-month first-class world cruise on the QE2. Total cost?
126 grand, all in. That's with the things we bought. And the only good thing you can say is duty-free champagne, because we both like champagne. So you can get Louis Roederer Crystal for £60 a bottle, where you can't find any for £120 or upwards, you know, in a restaurant in this country.
I think you could call it a learning experience. Spending 3 months in a cabin with nowhere else to go, no phones to your mum, nowhere to go out and see your friends, with someone you've virtually just met.
Is either make or break. Would you agree? Well, it made us, but it was touch and go for the first few weeks.
I've never seen clothes, diamonds. When there were 2 chaps there, and they had diamond studs all down their shirts. One night it would be diamonds, one night it would be emeralds. I've never seen anything like it.
John Fenton's headquarters are now at J.B. Priestley's former home here in Stratford-on-Avon. The Fentons live, as it were, over the shop, but as you might expect, in some style.
Julie saw Kissing Tree House and she said, what a lovely name. I'd like that. Thinking it was the cottage round the corner. It had not been lived in since January 1986, when J.B. Priestley's widow sold it. It was a total mess, not a damp, bit of vandalism. I paid over the odds for it. I know that, looking back now. £500,000 later. It is as you see it today. Where can you find a home that is big enough to do everything you want in 32 acres of paradise? Welcome to Kissing Tree House. My name is John Fenton. This is both home and work. Okay.
A few paces from his living room, John holds what he calls his masterclasses.
May 93. We're talking today about quotations. We're talking about making them a hell of a lot more effective. Let's start with the worst situation. Do your quotes look more like invoices?
In groups of 15 or so, he trains would-be super salesmen. They pay up to £300 for a day's course.
And if we don't reach agreement, we pick up the tab. Is delivery always critical? Answer's no. Sometimes it can be, but that's because the silly bloody customer left it to the last minute trying to get a better deal. Oops. And he's ringing around, sorting out how quickly he can get it, because he's in the cart. Now, you know what, if I filled the 72 master classes that are scheduled in a full year, that's 3 a week, 2 weeks a month. So I'm looking to work 6 days a month, £300,000. There you are. I'll underline the price in red just to frighten them a bit more. If I can generate that kind of money and have all the rest of the time, give or take a few in-company assignments, things like that, and a few shows, then we've both, because we're both involved in the business, we've both got enough time to enjoy this place, to live happily ever after.
On this bit here, why have you gone for a +1 and a -1 and kept that the same?
Because the sales turnover...
John runs his courses from here. So I see myself as sort of a one-woman support team. I write out his handouts, produce all those for him, cook all the food when he's got the people here, waitress it, wash it up, and then at the end of the day mop his brow, tell him he's wonderful, slip into something sexy and go out to dinner.
Is he a jealous man?
Yes and no. I mean, I think I don't notice his jealousy so much because I'm with him 24 hours a day. But if I want to go and do something without him, then yes. He gets sort of, he just likes me around. But he's not so, it's not jealousy that I would do anything. It's just jealousy that he's not there enjoying what I'm enjoying. See what I mean?
Or does he stop you going out by yourself?
Sometimes. He used to. Now I don't ask. That's why I'm on all these committees. I can actually legitimately go out the house.
Julie serves on the local Conservative Party committee. As the wife of the unofficial village squire, she's mainly responsible for organising this fundraising garden party.
We thought we'd have a little summer event and it sort of escalated. We were expecting between 70 and 100 people. And now we reckon we're going to have about 250. Hence the mountains of onions to go in the burgers.
Before the barbecue, the local amateur drama company are staging, appropriately, J.B. Priestley's An Inspector Calls.
Is everything okay in the tent?
Who's going to call them in? Do you want the bell? The bell over the microphone?
What a good idea.
Get Kevin to get the bell over the microphone. Or shall I go and get the bell?
Isn't it loud enough?
No, no.
It is, okay. You go get the bell.
I'll go. Where is it?
Right. Good question. Right,
I've got to
okay.
find the bell.
Go and get the bell. My name is John Fenton. I am lucky enough to own this beautiful house. We are the full house. So if we've got it right, every single seat is taken. Welcome to An Inspector Calls. Hope you enjoy the evening.
You must know, Julie, that a lot of people around here, presumably, have said, pretty girl of 27, man of 55. It's got to be the loot that's done it.
Yes, absolutely. When he asked me to marry him and I said yes, he said, why? I said, well, you're very, very, very rich and I think I can get on with you. He said, great. At least I know where I stand now. An honest gold digger. And I was.
There were rumours going around before we came back from the ship that we'd already parted. How the hell did anybody know that? But yeah, people talk like that. People will always talk like that. So what?
But how would it be if the money went away?
We're working too hard for that. I've got more control now. I'm actually in there helping him make it rather than just helping him spend it. So it won't go away.
I took a very large square briefcase and I wrapped it in...
John Fenton's fortune won't go away as long as he can keep pulling off his very best sales gimmick, selling himself.
See your dispatch manager, please.
It's show business. To actually stand on Wembley Conference Centre stage, which is 60 foot wide, and talk to 2,000 or 2,500 people, I mean, that is the closest to show business that anybody can get.
Whatever happened to the words well done? The only place you see the words well done are if you visit Bernie Steakhouse and stick it in a steak.
I worked out a few years ago that on stage across a 5-hour show on my own, I probably walk at least 9 holes of golf in terms of the distance. Probably the best part of the world. If you get half an audience, that's something. The other half will at least smile and will wait for their turn.
You be. All we're seeking today is to get you up, not down.
Evangelistically, that's the way you sock the message. It's got to come into the religious type of situation.
There are hundreds of people out there who need what I sell. Believe it. Make yourself believe it. I can find them. I can make things happen. Making it happen is the name of the game. Till then,